Hello and welcome. My last live stream got suspended midstream while I was trying to react to Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones. Maybe Tucker Carlson has some sort of deal with YouTube because it hasn't been an issue on any other of my React videos. But they specifically gave me instructions to lower the audio of the person I'm watching and a bunch of other stuff, and that I have to have my screen bigger and talk over them more and some other nonsense that I don't see anybody doing reaction videos doing. But I digress. Let's jump right into Nick Fuentes talking about the GOP leak. This is his episode from last night. Let's get into it.
My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Very excited to be back here with you tonight on Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Yes. We have a lot to talk about tonight, lots to get into. We are on the road. I'm on the road, so I'm not in the studio. And I was planning on just not doing a show for the rest of the week, which would have been ideal, to be honest. To not have to do a show for 3 days sounds like a vacation. Sounds like a privilege. But I've been on the road
like your
for a
privilege,
while,
buddy.
and I figured I couldn't do that to you. So I'm going to be doing a show tonight, tomorrow on the road. Thursday, I will be on InfoWars in the morning, and then I'll be back in the studio at night. So you get a show. You get basically a full week. We're going to be doing shows. This is the first time I've done
Hopefully
a
it doesn't
show
take
on
him
the
too long
road
to get into it.
in, I think, almost 3 years. And I don't even know where to look. Am I looking in the camera right now? You have to tell me how it sounds, because my audio might be messed up. But we're on the road. It's something about this camera.
My audio might be messed
What
up
is it
too.
about this MacBook camera? It's just doing things to me. I feel like I do when I was in LA.
Nick is discovering what low resolution MacBook front facing cameras will do for you.
I should do a show on the laptop all the time. Anyway, we got a great show for you tonight. Our featured story, we're going to be talking all about this group chat leak. And, look, it's not the biggest story ever, but it's a slow news day. The $100 a month club says I'm doing a great job. Thank you very much. Now stop tagging me, please. But our featured story, we're talking all about this young Republican group chat leak. It's a very slow news day. But it is sort of interesting because this is happening in the context of everybody talking about how cancel culture is over. And everyone recognizes we're in a new ecosystem right now.
I'm going to check my audios on the stream real quick.
And by that I mean everybody is unbanned on Twitter. It seems that free speech is increasing, if it's not all the way restored, on Meta, Google, X. And cancel culture has certainly receded with the censorship. And I never thought I'd see it move in that direction ever. And so people have been talking a lot. There's been much said about how
Okay, my audio levels are real strong. Nick could be a little bit louder.
And there have been prominent examples of this. Big Balls, who was at the White House, and some of the crew that Elon Musk brought in for Doge, these guys got canceled. Or there was an attempted cancellation for things they had said on the internet. And it seemed that there was an intercession almost from Musk, Vance, other elements inside the administration to prevent them from being fired. And ordinarily that's how it works. Is a Republican group chat leaks, an old Twitter, it gets aired out in Washington Post or Politico or The Hill or whatever, Daily Beast. And traditionally this is how it works, and then those people get their lives destroyed, reputations ruined, terminated from their jobs. And that seems now to be changing. And like I said, those are a couple of prominent examples of some of the Doge kids. Now we have another instance of this, and we're kind of charting a new course here, figuring out as we go along. Some young Republicans are in a group chat. They call them YRs. And it's kind of stupid because,
I don't know anything about the group chat. I have not read any of the articles that I briefly saw this morning. I don't know what the context is other than like a very brief synopsis, but I'll react to it as he talks about it.
I don't even know how young these guys are. I mean, young Republicans now are like 45 years old. You have like 40-year-old men like Matt Kipta are calling themselves young Republicans. I don't even know what that means anymore. Guy's fucking 39 or something. But in any case, they're in a group chat and hundreds of messages leak, and they're just, it's a right-wing group chat. So it's exactly what you would expect. And what's interesting now is that it seems like a lot of people are disavowing them. The Young Republican Club disavowed them. They may be fired from their jobs. But other people, surprisingly, are now defending them, including prominently Matt Walsh, J.D. Vance, among others. Excuse me. And so
Is that really surprising that Matt Walsh and J.D. Vance are defending alleged Republican use for saying whatever they want to say?
looks like this
Are they encouraging the murder and assassination of people? That would be my first question. And if not, then I have questions.
is yet another watershed moment, or you could say a potential data point in this new free speech ecosystem. So that's why it's somewhat relevant. We'll talk a little bit about the scandal tonight. We'll read through some of what was said. It's pretty funny, actually. I feel like my group chat is far worse, though. If my group chat ever leaks, it's over for me. You think what I say on the show is bad.
That's probably true.
You know, it's not great in the group chat. But anyway, so we'll read through the Politico article, some pretty good stuff. We'll talk about the reaction. Have to say, I've been pleasantly surprised from Vance. And you know, Vance is my number one op.
Yeah, what?
And I have major problems with him. But he has been remarkably consistent on this across the board.
Could be because Vance wants all that information dialed into their Palantir software so that it's easily searchable in the future.
For me, when I was banned on Twitter, he defended me. Or Big Balls, or whoever it was in that. I don't think it was Big Balls. It was another one of those guys. His name starts with a K. I forget it. But he defended that guy when he got canceled. And now he's defending these young Republicans. And I never thought I'd see it ever. But Republicans are finally learning to play the whataboutism game. And I think that's absolutely overdue. And of course, I'm referring to the fact that a month ago, you had people celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk.
Who's in here with me?
Democrats running
What's up?
for
Say hello in the
office
chat.
like kill Republicans, and apparently that's fine. But then a Republican group chat gets leaked, and it's young white kids. They're being controversial, and then they're going to get hanged. They're going to get their lives destroyed. Why would we play along with that? We're in power. They should not be fired. We'll also talk about Gavin Wax's role in it. I've heard some rumors that he was responsible for the leak. And I guess it's like some young Republican nonsense. It's like young Republicans fighting over committee seats and total, utter nonsense, basically like adult Model UN bullshit. And so supposedly Gavin Wax orchestrated the leak to damage some guy who took his committee assignment. And, fuck all these people, and especially Gavin Wax. And I told a lot of people, nobody that's involved, none of these guys were goipers. I mean, I don't know these guys, but they're influenced by the Groypers. Everybody's influenced by Groypers under the age of 30. But I told some other people that I know that are peripherally connected to it, I said, dude, serves you right. Gavin Wax is hanging out with his Jewish grandma with Chuck Schumer commemorating the Holocaust, and everybody was telling me for years how based he was. And then he goes and sells out the group chat to, get back at some young Republican guy because they lost the student council president election. It's totally ridiculous. So, anyway, we'll talk all about that. I'll tell you what I know about it. We're also going to talk tonight about Trump's announcement on the Gaza peace plan. Not good. And we covered the Gaza peace plan, I think, on Friday or Thursday. I don't remember exactly when we did.
I think he's referring to Trump saying that they're going to take it over. That the U.S. is going to own Gaza, but I haven't looked into that yet.
A show covering the whole deal, but as you know, I'm not optimistic about the deal. I'm glad that people are no longer dying for now, and I'm glad that it's a gesture towards peace. But as I said last week, it does not resolve the root causes of the conflict. And this
Nothing's ever going to resolve the root causes of that conflict.
Simmering for decades, for generations, and it's sporadically that it will boil over. And then it goes back to its state of simmering. But it's never fully resolved. And I think that that is all the peace plan does, is it just defers.
I should point out that I hardly ever agree with Nick Fuentes, but I think it's important that people listen to fringe voices and fringe movements, because they are less and less fringe as more and more people are limited to their own echo chamber. And if you're not listening to fringe voices from all sides, then you don't really understand the political landscape at all. You just understand your own individual parties or organizations' talking points. And that's not good for discourse, debate, discussion, or understanding the current political environment that you are living in and being affected by.
This part of the conflict to a later date. I think that what most likely will happen is that Israel will shift its attention to Iran and decisively confront Iran soon, and then probably revisit Gaza with...
I mean, they've already shifted their attention to Lebanon, which he didn't mention for some reason, but okay.
...in a year. And I think that's the most likely outcome. I seriously doubt that this plan has the specificity, the details. I don't know that Trump has the focus or willpower to follow through on it. I don't think Netanyahu has abandoned any of his goals that have been articulated, for decades, but especially ever since the war in Gaza began. That being said, the reason I suspect this is because inside the deal, the 20-point plan, some of the points have been agreed upon. The hostage prisoner exchange, ceasefire, the withdrawal of Israeli forces to a certain periphery inside of Gaza. But the most important things, there is no agreement. And among those things are the disarmament of Hamas. Israel started the war. They didn't start the war, but their strategic objectives in the war, I should say, were to demilitarize Gaza and specifically to remove Hamas from power, which means disarming them and then expelling them or eradicating them and ensuring that they have no future in the governance of Gaza, or really no presence in Gaza at all, and certainly not with weapons. And I heard some reports last week that Hamas had agreed to lay down their arms. I don't believe that's verified, though, or under what conditions. And so anyway, the big news today, that Trump comes out today during some ceremony and says, well, Hamas said they would lay down their arms. He said, but if they don't, I will disarm them violently. And so what does that mean? So now is the United States going to invade Gaza? We're going to now bomb Hamas ourselves? And I don't know how likely any of that is. It could be...
Coming from somebody that talks an awful lot of shit all the time, about Trump, who talks an awful lot of shit all the time, he should recognize that half of what Trump says is just to mess with people, to trigger people. But let's move on.
Rhetoric. It could be a throwaway statement, but I don't like it. And I don't like anything about the deal. I don't like that there are 300 American personnel in Israel. There's 100 operating the two THAAD weapon systems. 200 more have been deployed to oversee the logistics of the prisoner exchange. I don't like that there are Americans there. I don't like that we now own this because Trump has intervened. And I don't like the threat, even if it's an idle threat, even if it's, like I said, a throwaway remark. If that's his typical gunboat diplomacy, the kind of madman theory, whatever you want to call it, I don't like it. So we'll talk about that too, as in the Washington Post. Should be a pretty good show. Before we get into it, I want to remind you to smash the follow button, smash the like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think about the show. What else? Yeah, not much else. Kind of a slow day. I'm traveling.
Come on, buddy, get into it.
I feel like I look good. I feel like I...
Low res, let's move on. Come on.
Really,
720p.
It makes my face look thinner. It makes me look whiter. It makes my eyes look greener. So, I don't know if you agree. Anyway, I'm literally looking at... Usually I look at the Google Docs. I'm looking at myself right now, so I'm getting carried away. But we're going to move on. We're going to get into the news. This will probably be a relatively shorter show. But we're going to get into our first story. We'll talk about this Politico article. I'm going to pull it up, and we'll read through it. Like I said, this is from a young... And I don't know all the details. I don't know any of the people involved. I don't know the inside baseball here. I have a general idea of it. you have this group chat of YRs, young Republicans, and I guess it's just a typical conservative group chat. These are under 30, age under 30, young white men, very conservative, and it's exactly what you'd expect.
He said like 5 minutes ago it's
Explicit,
39-year-old.
very racial, very provocative. Somebody leaks the group chat to Politico, and they put it out, they blast everybody in it, and now they're calling for everybody to get fired. So this is a story from Politico. It says, quote, leaders of young Republican groups throughout the country worried what would happen if their Telegram chat ever got leaked, but they kept typing anyway. They referred to black people as monkeys and the watermelon people, and mused about putting their opponents in gas chambers. They talked about raping their enemies.
Yikes.
Who would ever do such a thing? Who would ever say such a thing? That's terrible. Imagine, I'm appalled, actually. Driving them to suicide, they lauded Republicans who they believe support slavery. William Hendricks, the Kansas YR vice chair, used the words nigga and nigga, variations of a racial slur, thanks for telling us, more than a dozen times in the chat. Bobby Walker, vice chair of New York State Young Republicans, referred to rape as, quote,
I wonder if my
Peter
channel is going to get taken down for this, but we'll find out, I guess.
Time was chair of the same organization, wrote in a message sent in June that everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber. He was referring to an upcoming vote on whether he should become chair of the Young Republican National Federation.
Here's a problem. Nick and half of these guys in this group chat are Holocaust deniers that say the gas chambers never exist, but now conveniently when they want to reference it, it did exist. I would like more consistency out of everyone involved in politics and communication and critiquing our national conversation, because the lack of just basic consistency is so irritating.
The GOP's 15,000-member political organization for Republicans between 18 and 40. So these guys are like going to be in charge of the youth. This is what I'm talking about. Like, everyone's a groiper now. I don't even know these people. I've never met these people, and I don't know that they identify as groipers. I don't believe they talked about me. If they did, I'm sure it'd be in here. But it just goes to show this is the mood of my generation. This is the mood. This is the zeitgeist of the under 25, under 30 crowd, especially for white men. It's just where they are. Anyway, it goes on. It says, he continued, I'm going to create some of the greatest physiological torture methods known to man. We only want true believers. Did I write this? And was I in the group chat? And so these are some of the screenshots. Well, it just reiterates what was already reported here. Joe Molino previously identified himself as the general counsel for New York State Young Republicans, wrote, can we fix the showers? Gas chambers don't fix the Hitler aesthetic. I don't even know what that means. I'm ready to watch people burn now.
I don't know what that means either.
Annie K. Katie. That just sounds try-hard. Typical stupid bitch. No offense if she's watching. The exchange, no, and she's probably a nice person, but like, why were there women in the group chat like edgelording? Kind of gay, honestly. But anyway, it says the exchange is part of a trove of Telegram chats obtained by Politico, spanning 7 months of messages among young Republican leaders in New York, Kansas, Arizona, and Vermont. Chat offers an unfiltered look at how a new generation of GOP activists talk when they think no one is listening.
I mean, he's reading a political article, so I should be okay, right?
They've been disavowed. It says prominent New York Republicans, including Elise Stefanik and State Senate Minority Leader Rob Ort, denounced the chat. Festering resentment among young Republicans have now turned into public recriminations, including allegations of character assassination and extortion. And here's basically the story of how this came about. So I guess there was a beef between Gavin Wax and the guy who ran the group chat. Gavin Wax and this guy, Peter Hunta, whatever his name is, they had some beef because I guess this guy Peter got this committee chair position, and Gavin believed that he was passed over or usurped or screwed over. And so supposedly, this is a story, supposedly Gavin Wax leaned on, this is what is being alleged, somebody who was in the group chat working for his rival, Peter, and got this guy to send him the chat logs. And allegedly a threat was made or implied that if this person did not comply, that Gavin would go after him for violating an NDA, which covered some sordid activities. This is what the streets are saying. These are the rumors. Not verified, these are allegations. So Gavin Wax leaned on a guy inside his rival's circle, this guy that apparently he believes usurped him. Gavin got the logs, and one of his people, or he...
I'll be honest with you, I really don't know anything about the GOP youth movement or leadership, so I'm not going to be able to comment on this initial part, but hopefully he gets through this pretty quickly and summarizes it pretty quickly.
Himself allegedly handed this over to Politico to blow up this guy's inner circle, because that was the group chat. It was the war room for this rival. And I would say the first thing about this story is, if this is true, who is at fault here? It's Gavin Wax. And I'm a big believer, and if you're engaging in this kind of petty, friendly fire nonsense, you should just be blacklisted. You just got to go. And by that, I mean this cannot be tolerated in right-wing circles. This kind of friendly fire, I mean, read the room. Charlie Kirk just got shot in the face by the left. And the tension is ratcheting up at these ICE facilities in
That's
Chicago
fair.
and Portland. Like, these people want us dead. And you think about the gravity of the situation we're in, to be going after and betraying your own people, which is people you know or did know, young white guys that are controversial, feeding that to the left.
I guess the first question I'd have to ask is whether or not this guy released portions of his own controversial statements or not, or if he just released portions of the group chat that were beneficial to him.
And by the way, in such a manner that reinforces political correctness. Because, of course, what is this story going to be used to say? They are running this up the flagpole, and this will have ramifications not just for the people involved immediately, but for everybody. Because they're going to put this out to Politico, and the headline is going to be, Generation Z, the young white men, are all Nazis. We have a Nazi problem. And what do you think this does for every under 30?
I mean, to be fair, we do in fact have a Nazi problem, but every country has a Nazi problem.
The white Republican, white man, conservative in politics. Huge target on their backs. This puts pressure on TikTok and X to censor. It puts pressure on Republicans to denounce and close ranks and tighten up.
Here's the thing about TikTok and X and all of these other platforms censoring any type of talk. It isn't good to hide the fringe or the worst voices, because if people go about their day unaware of what a fairly large subset of the population has to say and what they think, then that in it of itself is creating an echo chamber where not only are these people not disagreed with and shown the error in their ways or whatever you want to call it, but then they're in their own echo chamber because they have to rely on being inside group chats where everybody reinforces what they're saying instead of disagreeing with it. And that ultimately is causing more problems than if there wasn't any censorship whatsoever.
And it gives the left ammunition because it justifies, especially after what happened, not just that Charlie Kirk was shot, but that so many of the left-wing people were punished for celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. I mean, read the room. So if this story is true, then that means Gavin Wax is a traitor to his generation, to young white men, to right-wingers, to free speech, all of it. And of course, it should not...
I'm only noticing it for the first time, but did Nick Fuentes never grow into his two front teeth? Jesus, look at that right there.
...not be lost on anybody who Gavin Wax is. And, listen, I've talked to Gavin Wax before. I think I have. I'm not a fan of the guy. And, people have said, he likes you, he wants to meet you, this sort of thing. But at the end of the day, guy's Jewish. And not only that, it's not just that, okay? Which is, people might say, well, he's part of the Zionist Organization of America. Isn't he sent up to be in the World Zionist Congress in some kind of position? The guy's deeply embedded in pro-Israel politics. That's no coincidence. Think about the time and place. He's from New York City, Jewish, president of the New York Young Republicans. He's sent up for a position, I think it's either the ZOA or the WJC. I'm not making that up. He's either a delegate for the ZOA or the WJC, or the WZO, World Zionist Organization or Zionist Organization of America. I didn't do my research before the show. And this was something else that I saw earlier, either this year or last year. He's with Chuck Schumer, the senator from New York, a Democrat, honoring his grandma, who he says was a Holocaust survivor. Now, for context, the grandma was in Italy in the 1940s. That's a Holocaust survivor now? So go figure. Gavin Wax,
I mean, to be fair, we'd have to find out if she escaped Germany to go to Italy, or if she was in Italy the entire time. Though there was a fair amount of things going on in Italy as well, but not necessarily concentration camps for Jewish people and others.
Provocative, plucky chair of the New York Young Republicans, which is a pretty edgy club. I mean, they host a gala every year, and that's all these people fucking talk about. No offense to them, but all the NYYRC, all they ever talk about is how, Jeremy Fragrance went to the fucking club one year. And it's like, no one's ever heard of the end of it. But anyway, that's kind of like an inside joke. But so he's at this club. It's a pretty edgy club. Like Steve Bannon goes to their thing. Some of the rhetoric's a little edgy. And he's with the Senate minority leader, former Senate majority leader of the Democrats, another Jew from New York, Chuck Schumer, honoring his grandma, who he claims was in the Holocaust. She's from Italy. She's a Jew from Italy. She was in Italy during the Holocaust. And I saw that on Twitter. They posted it. It's like Chuck Schumer, Gavin Wax, and Gavin Wax's grandma. And my first thought is, that's a Holocaust survivor now? At least the other survivors could say, like, we went to an actual camp, Not to be glib, but it's like, at least you could say, there's some plausible, okay, maybe you were there, maybe, who knows? Were you one of the ones that really got operated on by Mengele or whatever? Or she was in Italy. That's the Holocaust now? And what's more, this is once again, my debate with Gavin McInnes came out yesterday, and the second part came out today. They're constantly insisting it's factional, that you've got these left-wing Jews and right-wing Jews, and they're fighting each other, and yet, where are they on Holocaust Memorial Day? You got the chair of the NYYRC, a very edgy right-wing club, allegedly, ostensibly new right, affiliated with some of these right-wing parties in Germany and in Europe, and they're sitting down right there with the Senate Majority Leader, former Senate Majority Leader for the Democrats. So where's the partisan, where's the factional dispute there? And so I saw that, and I said, yeah, I don't care what anybody says, I don't like.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought. So, in fact, according to Grok, because I will no longer use ChatGPT after I've had several instances of ChatGPT actively lying and gaslighting me. Yes, Italy operated concentration camps during World War II under Mussolini's fascist regime. These camps were primarily used to intern political opponents, Jews, Romani people, and other groups deemed undesirable by the regime. While not as extensive or genocidal as Nazi death camps, they were sites of forced labor, detention, and often brutal conditions. Key examples are Fossili, established in 1942 in northern Italy, initially for political prisoners and later for Jews before deportation to Nazi camps like Auschwitz. It held thousands, with many subjected to harsh treatment. Riziera di San Saba, located in Trieste, this former rice mill was used as a detention and transit camp, and occasionally for executions. It's estimated that thousands were killed or processed there. Rab, on the island of Rab, modern-day Croatia, then under Italian control, a camp held Slavs, Croats, and Jews. Conditions were dire, with high mortality due to starvation and disease. The Gonars, I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, in Fruili, this camp detained Slovenes and Croats. Croats sounds derogatory, but apparently it's not, with thousands dying due to malnutrition and poor conditions. From 1940 to 1943, Italy's camps were part of Mussolini's broader policy of repression, and racial laws intensified after 1938. After Italy's armistice with the Allies in September 1943, many camps were taken over by Nazi forces who used them as transit points for deportations to extermination camps, while the Italian camps were not designed for systematic extermination like Auschwitz. They were still brutal, with thousands dying from starvation, disease, and violence.
Like this guy, I don't trust this guy. It'd be one thing if he was just Jewish. Look, it's New York. A lot of Jews live there. A lot of Jews on the board of the NYYRC. It is what it is. But he's a delegate for Zionist organizations. He's meeting up with Chuck Schumer. He's doing the whole Holocaust grift. And then, surprise, surprise, he's throwing all of his compatriots under the bus to get back over the student council president election for the Young Republicans. Aren't you a little old for that, pal? Don't you have a job at the State Department? Like, why do you need that? So if that story is true, and I don't know that it is 100%, I've heard a few different versions of the story.
I don't know if it's true either.
That's the one that sounds convincing to me. Dude, this guy has to be expelled from everything. Like, he should be the one that should get canceled. Because I think we all recognize, whatever the disputes, factional disputes within the right wing, the left literally wants us dead. We know that after Charlie Kirk was killed, and before people flip out, whether you believe that Charlie Kirk was killed by a leftist or not, it does not change the fact that leftists celebrate it. So what does that tell us? Whether Charlie was killed by the RNC or the Mormon Mafia or Israel or whatever, okay, which are all, potential suspects, the left celebrated regardless. They made action figures, T-shirts, they danced, they laughed. Maliciously, they crashed the vigils. That's who they are. And Charlie Kirk was to the left of all of us. I mean, he was probably to the left of NYYRC, almost everybody in there. Left of all the Groypers, everyone in the group chat. And they wanted him dead.
That's true.
Views. And so, like I said, read the room. If you're feeding your fellow Gen Z, white, pro-America compatriots to the left on the basis that they are racist Nazis for saying the N-word, you're worse than the left. Like, you're worse than the enemy. You're a traitor. Who could ever trust this guy ever again? Where's the discretion? It doesn't exist. And this is where, I saw some responses. I was actually pleasantly surprised. J.D. Vance came to the defense of these guys and masterfully flipped it around on the left. And honestly, I think that's cynical. I think that J.D. Vance knows the right things to say, and he knows that that's like the optical thing to do, because I think he's a very skilled politician. Regardless, I give him credit. I appreciate that. That needs to be said. That's good that he, in his stature, is saying this. He came out and said, there's a candidate running in Virginia for a statewide office who says that Republicans should die. Nobody in the RNC group chat or the YR group chat said that. And if they did, they're joking around. They're making jokes. They're being silly. They don't think anybody's watching. So we all know you code switch. I don't think that's malicious. When you're in private, you say things that are edgy. I know that's like hard for people to believe. You say things that are only understood within the context of who you're with. Everybody knows that's a joke. These are young Republicans. They want to cut taxes, They're not actually unironic exterminationists, National Socialists. And when you're with friends, you get comfortable. You know that they understand it as a joke. You're not airing that out on the front page of Politico. You don't intend for that to happen. And so J.D. Vance turned it around and said, look, you got some knucklehead kids. Yeah, they're in college. These are young kids joking around in a group chat. Meanwhile, you got people that are actually trying to take over the government that want conservatives to die. And conservatives are being murdered, and they like that. So I thought that was great. But I will say that another reaction came from Matt Walsh, and I replied to one of Matt Walsh's tweets. He said, after Charlie died, I said that we need to unify, and everybody basically told me no. He said, but we don't understand that the left is trying to ruin our lives, blah, blah, blah. But I said, look, Matt, I said, and I don't know, when he said that he wanted the right to unify, I don't know if he was referring to me, and maybe he was and maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was intending for me to be one of the people he wanted to extend the olive branch to. I'm open to that. If he texted me privately, I'd be very discreet and down low about it. You know, I wouldn't tell anybody that he's a closeted Goiper or something or whatever, fan of the show. But I said, look, it's really hard for anybody to unify with you, Matt, because you work with Ben Shapiro, Andrew Klavan, and Jordan Peterson. And they are all in the pocket of Israel. And we know that these people, they hate us. Like anyone that is not down with Israel.
I mean, Nick goes from interview to interview and learns nothing, because it was just a couple days ago that he sat down and debated with a guy who made it clear that people do not support Benjamin Netanyahu, that only 27% of Israel voted him in because of how their political system works, that most conservative actual Jewish people aren't supporters of Israel and understand that they're not even supposed to have a land of their own based on their biblical principles of having it taken away from them by God.
They actually hate. And, like, it's not a Christian thing where it's like we love our enemies. No, like they want us dead. Just like the left wants us dead, Shapiro wants us dead. Klavan wants us dead. And think about the way they talk about us. They call us filth, garbage. Like it's they can barely conceal. It's like a seething contempt and hatred.
That is true for some. I mean, I've definitely seen videos of Christians in Jerusalem or Israel in general getting spit on by Israeli or Jewish youth, being beaten by Israeli or Jewish youth. I think even Sacha Baron Cohen was literally beaten in the street to the point that he was bruised and bloody for inappropriately behaving at the wall of prayers or whatever they call it.
And so I look at someone like Matt Walsh, and he kind of sounds like the white guy in the story with Gavin Wax, where it's like, yeah, maybe you're okay, and I think Matt Walsh's intentions are good, but who's down the hall and to the left? It's Shapiro, who ruins people's lives. It's Klavan, who would do the same. It's Jordan Peterson, who said, I'm lower than a rat. And it's like, I'm sorry, I would like to unify with you. And
To be fair, Jordan Peterson has really fallen off over the last year or so. It probably is the drugs.
I'd like to think you're a good guy, but I can't actually unite with you as long as you're mobbed up with that crew, who are very similar in that way to Gavin Wax. And so it's sort of, I have the same message for Walsh, for anybody, for the Trump voters. It's we need to start taking our own side and recognizing that you just can never get too comfortable around these people.
To be fair, one of the things that I actually appreciate about the current conservative movement is that there is a lot of infighting, as opposed to the Democrats that if you press them for facts or evidence or an opinion that's outside of the left-wing talking points, they are just incapable of having a discussion that doesn't devolve almost immediately.
Because on some level, you don't even know, is the real reason that Gavin Wax leaked the group chat, did he do that on the order of the Zionist lobby? They must know they have a Goiper problem. These guys I don't know. But Goipers are all over the government, and everyone knows that. There's Goipers at Harvard. There's Goipers in all the Ivy League schools. I talked to all of them. There's Goipers in government. There's Goipers in every department, every agency. Okay? And I almost wonder if this was an operation to try to start to roll that back. You don't know. And I would suspect that I'm probably not far off the mark on that. So It's just another message that these people are not really on our side. Anyone's a delegate for the ZOA. I don't care how based they sound. I don't care if they told you they're going to be your friend forever. All roads lead to Rome. You know, maybe they said, oh, we're going to be friends forever. Guys, we'll be friends forever, right? All roads lead to Rome. You know, no, actually that's not the case, especially with them. This is what they do. And here's the last thing I'll say about it before I move on. Of course, I did a viral clip last week, I think on Friday, where I said that I want the Groypers to infiltrate the system. I want them to go to highly selective schools. I want them to infiltrate the top law firms, the biggest businesses, defense contractors, the security state. And a lot of people clowned on me for that, and now people are saying, well, this is what happens when you infiltrate. I would say to that, and by that I mean they said, well, look, Nick said to infiltrate. These are the fruits of infiltration. You get exposed in group chats, etc. It doesn't work. I would say on that point, to build upon what I said on Friday, this is why I tell people, hide your power level, okay? You're not hiding your power level if you're in a group chat with hundreds of people saying we're going to put people in gas chambers, okay, guys? Now, I know it's funny, and I joke around like that on my show, and I'm very cavalier about it, and maybe I'm setting a bad example. But if you are in the Young Republicans, and I'm speaking to you, if you're in college Republicans, if you are in the administration, if you're in a high position, you can't be putting this in writing. You can't. I'm not going to say don't ever joke.
See, this is why I think it's important that we listen to voices like Nick Fuentes, even if we don't agree with them, because I wasn't aware of this directive, and he is, in fact, the king of the Goipers. But I wasn't aware of this directive, and it's important to note and be aware of it, and make sure that other people are aware of it, because this combined all of the efforts to infiltrate. We need centrist moderates infiltrating the government, not extremists on the left or the right. But the problem is that the loudest voices are usually the smallest minority, but they're the ones talking, so they're the ones getting listened to.
But look, Signal, Telegram, let's put the disappearing messages timer on. Let's not put this in writing. Let's just not go there. If you're going to hide your power level, if you're going to be a ninja, you can't go blasting off in everybody's faces. Pause. You can't be blasting off with all this kind of stuff in a giant group chat in writing with your real face. Okay, that's not good OPSEC. It's not a good idea. You can't do it. And you'd be surprised. I've had this talk with a lot of people, and I tell them, this is big boy stuff, okay? Time to put on the big boy pants. We gotta grow out of that stuff.
I mean, he should really be saying that he knows from experience, specifically because he's ruined his reputation. He's ruined his ability to actually be involved in politics. He's ruined his ability to find a woman who is going to look at him anything other than what he is known for, according to him specifically. So to be fair, he is giving advice from life experience.
And I get it. It's tough. You know, people want that release. It's difficult. When you're infiltrating the system, you have to wear a mask. And you have to assume an identity. It's a spy game.
That's ironic.
Especially for young guys. They want that release. They want to be able to be authentic. Especially me. I mean, I've fought a very difficult battle to be myself. But when you're doing that, it's so risky. The other thing I'll say about it, though, is that it's not the end of the road for them. For anybody that says, oh, this proves infiltration doesn't work, I would say in any war, there's battles, and in every battle, you move up and down the battlefield. And this is just what happens. It's attrition, you know. Over time, there's this swarm. Young men, all young men are getting red pilled. All young men are talking like this, okay, unless they're gay. Or, you know, even some of the gay ones are talking like, you know, according to J.D. Vance, there's like normal gay guys apparently that are talking like this, okay? Everyone's talking like this. Every under 30 young white man is, even left-wing ones are joking like this. Trust me. And it is just jokes. Political correctness is dead. Wokeness is over, okay? Comedy has been legalized. We have legalized comedy.
I mean, the other thing that he could be bringing up, that I don't think he's going to bring up, is that somehow slinging words is a fireable offense, a chargeable action, but throwing bricks and rocks and bullets, okay, maybe not bullets, but bricks and rocks. But there was the guy who shot on the ICE facility. He killed a illegal immigrant, but he was trying to kill ICE agents. But apparently bricks and rocks are okay, but inappropriate slurs, that's where you draw the line.
But we're all talking like this. Where was I going with this? I totally lost my, because of that awesome joke. Comedy got legalized. Everyone's talking like this. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. And so, look, this is happening everywhere. Okay? Everyone's paying attention to this. Everyone's paying attention to the conversation being changed. And every generation of Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Princeton alum is going to graduate a good amount of groypers. And a good amount of them, no one knows who they are. I don't know them. They're not involved in anything. They're just keeping it to themselves. And eventually they're going to become very powerful. And along the way, yeah, some of them are going to get their spot blown up, and some of them are going to get canceled, and some of them are going to get fired. But that is just the name of the game. And here's something. It's sort of like that survivorship bias kind of diagram. It's like, maybe that doesn't apply here. I have to think about it to really understand that. But if infiltration was useless or unnecessary, why would they be doing this? Why is it that some of these like left-wing journalists and others, why do you think, and this Politico guy that wrote this piece, this guy's been sniffing around that scene for a long time. Why do you think they're so up everybody's ass if infiltration didn't matter, if they weren't concerned? Why do you think they're panicking and mobilizing and freaking out and trying to frame the Goipers for killing Charlie Kirk? It's because they don't want to graduate a new generation of future elites who are not beholden to Israel, who are not woke, whatever. It's because it works. And so just because you lose a battle, or even you get pushed back on the battlefield, it doesn't mean you give up the war. It doesn't mean you give up the fight. And I saw some people saying that. I thought that was really petty and kind of pathetic, that people use this as an opportunity to score points. It's like, no, these guys were doing a great thing. These guys are, they're not woke, they're based, and they're doing what they're supposed to be. They're rising up in the party leadership. They're rising up in the government. The mistake that they made is that they were sloppy. They were careless, they were sloppy, and I'm assuming these are jokes. I mean, and I do just want to clarify, because it is worth saying on the record, this is just how young kids talk, okay? It is jokes. To the extent, if these guys are not joking, and they're unironic, they want to kill everybody, then obviously I don't support that. This is the language of Generation Z. This is the language of a generation that was told for 10 years, everything's racist, everything's whatever, and this is just how they speak. Most of these guys are Catholic, Christian, they're just patriots. They want what's best for the country. Then they just go home and they make edgy jokes with each other because it's transgressive. It's what young people do. I mean, if that even needs to be said, it should be said for the, like I said, just on the record. But, because, and that's why I really have an axe to grind now with Gavin Wax. This and a lot of these other things, just trust me on this, well, and it's just logical. They're going to run stuff like this up the flagpole, and they're going to use it to beat us to death. On the left, and on the establishment right. They're going to use stuff like this to scaremonger and fearmonger. Even this show, for example. And
Holy smokes.
Generation Z are all Nazis. This is how they talk when no one's looking. They're hiding their true evil intent, and that's why they have to be stopped at any means necessary. And no doubt, the left is radicalizing Tyler Robinson to go and kill people like this. And they're mobilizing their base to go and vote in the next election.
To be fair, we don't know exactly who radicalized Tyler Robinson. I'm not entirely sure. that that sort of radicalization isn't happening through domestic or foreign elements that know exactly what they're doing, know the exact type of person to target. Um, you know, not to even get into his short stay at the CIA school where he dropped out of almost immediately.
Because they think Trump represents all this. And the end goal then is to pass laws to literally hurt us and destroy our lives, to throw us in jail, people like me, people like those named in the article, and then oppress everybody, like punish us with immigration and the rest of it. So, for Gavin Wax to do that, maybe he could get away with that 10 years ago. That kind of bullshit was very common. That's just politics. Shame on the people that were involved for being so sloppy and careless. Like, everybody does it, but you really shouldn't. It's just irresponsible because you're there on a mission. You're a spy. But really, fuck Gavin Wax. Everybody needs to, text him and say, hey, fuck you, man. If you know him, if you have his number, if you're in politics, you have an obligation to say, hey, man, fuck you. If this story's true. Because it's like you have betrayed everybody. And,
Can't stop yawning. Come on, Nick.
So, I will have nothing to do with anyone who's involved with him. I'm not going to hang out with somebody that leans on people, threatens litigation, allegedly. Threatening litigation to get the text messages. I'm going to tell on you to Politico because you made it funny, because you made a joke. Because I didn't win student council president in the Young Republicans. Like, fuck you, dude. F you. Total dirtbag. So, maybe I'll be eating these words later if there's proof that this is not him. But I very strongly suspect that is the case, even though it's alleged. And I will get to the bottom of it. But if that's true, no quarter for traitors like that. Disgusting filth. No surprises either. I would not even be the slightest. I would not be surprised in the slightest if that was his doing, because that's how these people are. And by these people, I don't mean Jews. It's not a dog whistle. I mean these Zionist Jewish types. They will do anything for Israel, and in particular these you gotta understand.
So just to clarify and to I guess confirm what he's talking about here. Yes, in recent news from October 14th and 15th, Gavin Wax, a former president of the New York Young Republicans Club and current chief of staff of the U.S. State Department's Office of Public Diplomacy and of Public Affairs, has been widely accused of leaking a private Telegram group chat involving leaders of the Young Republican National Federation. Who knew that was a thing? A prominent GOP group youth organization with about 15,000 members. Here are the key details of the scandal. The chat, the leaked messages spanning over 28,000 entries across 7 months, reviewed in 2,900 pages by Politico, were from a group called Restroyer War Room. Participants included state-level young Republican leaders plotting to influence YRNF elections and leadership. The content featured extreme racist, anti-Semitic, and violent rhetoric such as praising Hitler, using slurs against blacks, Latinos, Asian, and gay people, jokes about gas chambers, slavery, and the R word. Notable figures implicated: Peter Gayunta. I was going to say that's the same name of Erica Kirk's stepfather, but it's slightly different. Gayunta, not Gwinta. Former New York State Young Republicans chair and chief of staff to state assemblyman, sent the gas chamber message and apologized, calling the language insensitive and inexcusable, while alleging the logs were deceptively doctored. William Hendricks, Kansas Young Republicans vice chair, used racial slurs over a dozen times. Bobby Walker, New York Young Republicans leader, wow, that's pretty inappropriate. I'm not going to say that one. The leak's impact, the expose has triggered resignations, job firings, maligno from the New York court system, and bipartisan condemnation from GOP figures like Rep. Mike Lawler and Democrats. It highlights internal GOP youth factionalism, especially a rivalry between the New York City Young Republicans Club, led by Wax, and the state organization.
Something about government. The government is filled. Like, I hate to say it, I really do. But John Doyle's kind of right that the Washington, D.C. and the Republican Party and the administration, it is filled to the brim with, like, stunted, arrested development, losers from high school. And the second that they get a committee assignment in the GOP, the second they get a head pat from the government, they cannot wait to exaggerate their importance, cannot wait to flex their administrative powers that are at their discretion. And literally, they all think that they're the man. Like every Republican staffer, intern, wannabe, they all think that they're the man, and they want to go and swing their, big you-know-what around the city. And that's just prototypical. And if you're in D.C., you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like these Washington, D.C. creatures, and that's what Gavin Wax is, running the NYYRC. Complete climber, striver, wannabe student council president, wannabe factotum, or Miranda Cosgrove from School of Rock. And that's just so typical, to not see the big picture. And him being a Zionist Jew, that plays a part too. But anyway, so that's that. I want to move on. I want to talk about this story in the Washington Post, which I'll pull up. This is another big story. Not cool. Switching gears a little bit, we covered the Gaza peace plan all last week. And so much fanfare and so much pomp and triumphalism surrounding the...
All right, everybody, I think I'll stop it there and keep it to one topic. Plus, he's making me so tired I'm falling asleep, so I might need a cup of coffee before listening to the next one. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I hope I provided some additional insights by doing a little bit of fact-checking and a little bit of critiquing. Nick is a real smart guy, but he's so smart that he knows what to not include and what to include to further his point and agenda. And I think that if you're going to talk in extremes, you need to cover both extremes as often as possible. But let me know